Aiy-yu-kwee, Malita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian. Today I will be talking about my review of Brandon Hobson's The Removed. Thank you to Ecco Books for sending me an advanced reader's copy of The Removed. It's very much appreciated. This book is out February 2nd, 2021. However, it was released early to Book of the Month. So if you have a Book of the Month subscription, have had the opportunity to receive this book as an early release. So I got it a finished copy. I also want to encourage and support Book of the Month for including more Indigenous authors. I believe this is like the third one I've seen, which is really cool. I just want them to do more. I also just wanted to support the author. So The Removed follows a Cherokee family as they prepare to have a bonfire on the 15th anniversary of their teenage son's death. Ray was shot by police officers thinking that he had a gun. And every year on the anniversary of his death, this family has a bonfire. They gather physically and emotionally to have dinner, sit in front of this bonfire, and retell memories of Ray's life. This year in particular, though, as the anniversary is coming up, we kind of follow the days leading up to the anniversary. And Maria, the mother, agrees to take on a foster youth for temporary housing. She's a little worried about it. Her husband, Ernest, his health is declining, and more often than not, he finds himself in a fog. There's something with this foster child that seems to be helping him. It's anniversary, all these family members are finding the line between reality and the spirit world blurred. The oldest daughter, Sonia, is fixated on a man that has ties to Ray's death, and Edgar, the youngest son, finds himself in the darkening land, a place that is between the living and the dead, and has the echoes of atrocity. This story, it draws on Cherokee folklore and is a meditation on family grief, home, and the power of stories on both a personal and an ancestral level. With those in mind, there is content warnings for drug and alcohol use and abuse, colonization, the Trail of Tears, police shooting, gun violence, assault, racism, use of slurs, grief, death of a family member, whether it's a son or sibling, both Alzheimer's, and the foster care system. I also feel like I need to reiterate every time that this is an Own Voices book. Brandon Hobson is an enrolled member in the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. This is not an Own Voices review. I am a Yurok tribal member here in California. Native peoples, tribes, and nations are not monolithic, have our own experiences, cultures, and belief systems. There may be similarities, but we are in fact different, so I do not necessarily consider this an Own Voices review. So I went into this book fairly cautiously just because after losing my own brother 2 years ago, I just wanted to be wary for myself. There were times in here where I had to just kind of put the book down and kind of process what I was feeling, because some of it was relatable, some of it had similarities in our belief system, whether it's the Yurok belief system or just my family's belief system, as that can be different as well, even from within our own tribes. I know that for my family in particular, there were similarities to our belief systems in this book that it hit close to home, and I had to just put it down and process. And not that it was a bad thing. I tend to really enjoy when a book does that because it doesn't make me feel so alone. It's a relief to know that I am not the only one that feels these things. So, and it's also just kind of cool in general to like go, oh, we think similarly. That's really cool despite the geographical differences. The whole book was a little nerve-wracking for me. I did read this fairly slowly. It took me 15 days to get into, and it's a relatively short book. It's only 288 pages. It felt heavy to me, but it was also hopeful. But I don't want you thinking that this is all just like one big heavy topic and mostly because there are hopeful moments in here. I particularly ended up getting really cautious, particularly during the hopeful moments. I didn't want to get hopeful because I was afraid it was going to be taken away. And that's always kind of my fear in general with Indigenous authored books. Not to say that all of them are like this, but a lot of them tend to be steeped in tragedy. And I was hoping this one wouldn't necessarily go that way, but I was still cautious going into it. I wasn't aware of what I was getting into. I really enjoyed the storytelling in here, particularly the style of storytelling. It was fairly open-ended. There was no neatly tied bows or anything at the end. It was just kind of open-ended. And it was something I did struggle with, but in the end, I think I rather liked the open-endedness of it because it left room for interpretation. It left room for hopefulness. It left a lot of room for prospects. So I particularly really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the perspectives we got. We got Maria's, Sonia's, Edgar, and Sala. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I'm not going to talk about too much about Sala's point of view because that's kind of spoilery. Enjoyed all of the perspectives, particularly how in depth all of them were. I feel like I got to know each and every one of them. All of their perspectives were fairly unique in that you understood. I enjoyed being able to identify, like, yes, this is Maria's perspective. Like, yes, it says it at the beginning of the header, but sometimes, like, some authors will change perspective, but it feels like the same character because the characters don't have that much depth to them, and this one, they do. It felt like Maria's voice when we were in Maria's perspective. It felt like Edgar's voice when we were in Edgar's perspective, and I really appreciated that. One perspective that I was fairly cautious of was Sonia's. I think that's how you say it. It's Sonja, which I believe is a way you can spell Sonia, but for some reason as I was reading it, I kept pronouncing it in my head as Sonja, which is fine too. I just don't. The reason why I was particularly hesitant with her perspective is as a sister grieving, that's something I was just cautious going into. There were a couple of moments in her perspective that made me cry and made me have to put it down and just kind of process because she questioned herself as a big sister. There was just so much relatable within that. Also feel like I cried a couple times within Maria's perspective, the mother. Insecurities and discussion that my mom has talked to me that Brandon Hobson put in Maria's perspective that I felt that my mom could relate to. That being said, I don't know if I would necessarily refer this to my mother, as I feel like it feels too soon. Not to say that it wouldn't be helpful or anything, and not to say that 2 years is too soon. Grieving comes in waves. Everyone does it differently. There's no time limit on it. I just particularly think that in this time and place that I would not recommend it to her at this moment. Hopefully I could in the future, because I do think that towards the end of this book there is perspective of hopefulness and there is a sense of moving forward, which I appreciated. So, but the fact that there is a prospect of moving forward as a family together to work everything out is nice. I think that's all I really have to say about this book. Like I said, this is out February 2nd, 2021, and is also available through Book of the Month. It was one of their picks for January, and just because they're opening it now to February doesn't mean that you can't add on from January. So if you're interested in the book, if you have read this book, I'd like to hear your perspective on it. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Be sure to check out my raise awareness links down in the description down below, which talks about MMIW G2S, which is Missing Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, Two-Spirit People. I have multiple links down below for that of nonprofits and organizations, as well as information from the United States to Canada. I also have Turnout, which is a nonprofit organization down in the Bay Area of California that helps LGBTQ plus community down in the Bay Area with COVID relief, food, and volunteer opportunities for mentorships, as well as big events such as Pride. So yeah, definitely check out those links, share and donate where you can. Otherwise, I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading, and I will talk to you again soon. Cheers. you.